Very good evening, everyone. My name is Gulshan Memoria. I'm the CEO and the founder of Inspiredvalley. We've started this initiative for the sole purpose of connecting the best minds in the academic world and brainstorm on some of the key topics that will add value and help the educational world fraternity to enrich themselves by listening to the new ideas and various suggestions. So let me introduce you to the today's topic is mental health, and let's address the elephant in the room. Moreover, this is the most prominent topic after the COVID. So let me introduce the panel to you. The very first speaker that we have is Ms. Shubhangi Raajput. She is the vice principal at Neerja Modi School, Udaipur. Next speaker we have is Mr. Rajan Sharma. He is working with Birla School Pilani. He's also working as a CBSE master trainer, and he conduct a lot of training program for teachers. Next speaker we have in line is Ms. Ritika Logani. She is working as counselor at Manav Rachna International School, Mayfield Gardens, Gurugram. Next speaker we have is Ms.Anuj Talan. She is the founder principal at Red Butterfly Preschool, Gurugram. Next speaker we have is Miss Josephine Antony. She is the principal at Athena Global School, Chennai. Next we have is Mr. Vikas Nagru. He is the co-founder and director of a company called Brain Infinity, and he's also one of the renowned mind trainers in India. Next speaker we have is Mr. Paresh Yadav, the co-founder and director of Sarbotech Education Private Limited. I welcome everyone to on this panel. It's my pleasure to have you. Yeah. So let me start. You can say introducing this topic and taking the response from Miss Ritika Logani, as you are the counselor of Manav Rachna International School, and I'm sure that you encountered this problem very often, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so being the school principal, can you make us understand what are the prominent mental health issues which the students are facing nowadays?
Yeah, see, first of all, a very good evening, everybody, and thank you so much, Mr. Gulshan, for having me as a panelist here. Because and this topic, mental health, is very close to me. I am actually living for mental health as a counselor, and that too with school students. So, see, first to understand what exactly mental health we are talking about over here is it's just a general state of mind when without which is without any constant fear or any which is without any negative thought. Normally हम क्या बोलते हैं, mental health is like going into depression, going into stress, but
Exactly.
actually it is the healthy state of mind when you're working without any fear of losing anything, right? Now
Okay.
in today's scenario, mental health is become it's very important because it has gone down not only to the teenager level, but it has gone down to the early school children level also. The most prominent problem that I encounter or I see is that of anxiety. Now, what happens is, especially after COVID, there is a fear of loss. There
Okay.
is a fear that of uncertainty. So, because of this fear of loss and uncertainty, there is a lot of anxiety happening around. Now, this anxiety initially we used to be anxious only exams hai, maybe some competitions or whatever. Now, anxiety has become a part of daily life because the performance pressure is there, uncertainty is there. You don't know what is going to happen next, right? So, this
Exactly.
anxiety is becoming or taking a toll on children as small as maybe you can say grade 2 or 3. Why? Because they have seen the loss at home, because they have seen that uncertainty at home. Then there is a lot of this is resulting in panic attacks in
Okay.
children, right? Children who are appearing for board exams this year, they are very uncertain. Agar kuch ho gaya to, if you are not able to do, then so that loss, that fear that has come, that has this anxiety is relating to your panic attacks there. Then there
Okay.
is concentration problem, there is distractibility. Now suddenly what has happened, our world was very normal, then it became a virtual world.
Exactly.
For 1 year it was a virtual world, and then everybody got into the game. It's like whenever we get into the
The
game, so
screen
we
time
all
has
go.
increased.
Yes, absolutely. Their screen time has increased, so their reflexes have been affected.
Okay.
Everything on the phone, they are always if you will see, they are using just these 2 or 3 fingers.
Hmm.
So you will see that the the physical problems have come up, and because of the physical problem, that mental instability has increased, because there is no time for any physical activity. So distractibility is there, restlessness is there.
Restlessness.
There,
This is a wonderful
yeah, there
point.
is fear of missing out. Like,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
people say, because they are not socially very unaware. You will say that how being unsocial, or like we talk about social emotional learning, SEL, which is like everybody's talking about nowadays.
Hmm. Hmm.
What is
Hmm.
social emotional learning? Because people, they are so much into the virtual world, and they have not been able to come out of it. Although it's been a year now, and everybody is struggling to come out of that virtual world, because that does not judge you, so fearing of being judged. Now, one very common thing you will find in children nowadays in school, if you've noticed, some of the children are still wearing the mask.
Hmm.
Now you will ask them, they are not wearing the mask because they are fearful of the virus, but it gives them a protection of not being recognized.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So this is giving them, the feeling ki, okay, if even if I make a mistake, even if something happens, I'm being hiding. So escapism is coming
Hmm.
into the picture, right?
The
So
men.
when we have been talking about mental health, initially we would always talk about depression. Depression is a very loosely used word.
Hmm.
Nobody actually knows what exactly depression is.
Unless that person
You will
has.
ask a child, the child, I'm very depressed. The
Hmm.
child is not depressed. The child is just not in a state of mind to explain. Everybody is depressed and everybody is stressed out.
Hmm.
But actually, everybody is very anxious. The anxiety is becoming, when you're talking about the elephant in the room.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it is
Hmm.
that small ant that the elephant is very scared of.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Okay, so this anxiety is that small ant which later on will affect the elephant, and which will become the
I
whole.
believe there are many reasons behind these things.
Absolutely.
Vikas ji, are you there? विकास जी ये वॉइस या विकास जी मुझे आपकी थोड़ी सी हेल्प चाहिए दो टॉपिक्स को समझने के लिए बिकॉज बीइंग द माइंड ट्रेनर आई एम श्योर दैट यू कैन ऐड अ लॉट ऑफ कैन से पॉइंट एंड different views on this area. So this anxiety and depression, can you conclude these two areas in next 2 minutes? Would love to hear
Uh,
your point of view.
yeah, thank you, Gulshan ji. Thank you. I'll share some real story. Today's scenario. मेरे पास आज एक बैंक मैनेजर आए हुए थे अपनी काउंसलिंग के लिए,
Okay.
and he want to left his job,
Okay.
and he's earning very well. He belongs to a very rich family. The point is he's not feeling complete.
Hmm.
The thing is, जब हमने उसका टेस्ट किया तो पता लगा कि एक्चुअली अच्छा वो डिप्रेशन की मेडिसिन वो ले रहे हैं, ओसीडी उनको हो चुका है,
Okay.
about 42 years. तो जब वो कंक्लूड करने की बात करें तो सिंपल सी बात थी कि उनकी जो स्ट्रेंथ थी वो थी उनकी फिजिकल एनर्जी, उनकी जो स्ट्रेंथ थी वो था उनका इमोशनल ईक्यू, इमोशनल क्वेश्चन, वो अब उनका वीकनेस बन गया। व्हाई सो? क्योंकि वो ना तो कोई फिजिकल वर्कआउट कर रहे थे और ना ही अपनी लाइफ को उस हिसाब से जी रहे थे जिस हिसाब से उनका ब्रेन डिमांड कर रहा था। व्हाट डज ब्रेन डिमांड मींस? आपको ब्रेन बहुत क्लियर इंडिकेशन देता है कि ये मेरी नीड है, जस्ट फुलफिल दैट। और जब हम उसको पूरी नहीं करते तो होता क्या है कि जब देखिए जिसकी जो डिमांड है उसको अगर पूरी नहीं करे तो ऑब्वियसली वो हमारे अगेंस्ट ही खड़ा होगा, तो वही हमारी पावर हमारे अगेंस्ट खड़ी है। तो वो क्योंकि फिजिकल एनर्जी बहुत थी, तो अब एट द एज ऑफ 43, यानी कि जब आपका कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटी आपने एक एज ले लिया है, कोई डिसाइड नहीं कर पा रहे, कॉन्सेंट्रेट नहीं कर पा रहे, अपना डे टू डे वर्क नहीं कर पा रहे, अगर वो नहीं कर पा रहे तो बच्चा कैसे कर लेगा? मैम ने अभी बहुत सही बोला, रितिका मैम, कि अभी रिफ्लेक्सेस भी हाई हो गए हैं, स्क्रीन टाइम बढ़ गया है, और देयर आर एन नंबर ऑफ फूड है, बहुत कुछ है। लाइक अ सिंपल एग्जांपल, सोडियम और पोटेशियम, ब्रेन दो चीजों को समझता है, सोडियम और पोटेशियम को। okay? और जितना भी हम इंसानों ने खाना बनाया उसमें भरपूर सोडियम डाला गया है, भरपूर। तो ब्रेन को जब एक बार आपने हैबिट दे दी सोडियम की, तो वाई वो आपसे पोटेशियम क्यों मांगने लगेगा? तो जब आपने फूड वो दे दिया, आपने हाई रिफ्लेक्सेस उसको दे दिए, फिर कौन सी पेरेंटिंग कर दी? गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? तो वहां से पॉसिबल ही नहीं है। एंड सॉरी टू सी, मतलब मैंने कान पकड़ के, क्योंकि यहाँ पे स्कूल प्रिंसिपल्स भी बैठे हैं, रही सही कसर, हमने स्कूल्स में कैंटीन्स खोल दी हैं।
Let's not touch that point, huh? Let's not touch that point because that's a different tangent altogether.
The
No,
point
that's a
is-
wonderful
point
point
is-
because
we are-
that
we are-
you
we
are
are-
talking about some of
we
the
are-
real examples.
Yeah.
So let me
So,
introduce. Yeah, please. Because just give me 2 minutes. Let me introduce to our you can say one of the panelists, Ms. Anindita Banerjee. She is working with Delhi Public School. Telangana, I believe, right? It's very hard to pronounce that name. Nadergul.
It's all right. It's all right. Hello, everybody. This is Anindita Banerjee. I work as a headmistress at Delhi Public School, Nadergul, which is in Hyderabad.
That's wonderful. So yeah, so let me ask your question first because I believe that you have to go. So your question was mental health problems can affect students' energy level, concentration, dependability, mental ability, and may hinder his or her performance. Right. So can you share your views on this? What is the role of the teachers if they encounter such issues? Because anyhow, lastly, the teachers has to intervene.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Gulshan, again, as I was also saying that, when the first and foremost reason why I chose to attend this is because you were talking on the topic mental health. And me as an educator, I as an educator, have always found that that is a hush topic. Okay, fine, it's all right. My child is not well. That's all right. Why don't you come for a cup of tea with me? Or why don't you just come? Let's take a walk outside. Let's go cycling. So these are the conditions, And when you pose this question, it directly takes me back to one of my students in my school. One of the children who I have taught. So I had done an activity. They were the first batch with me. I had done an activity. So anonymously, I had asked them to write down what is their secret or what do they fear, what are they scared of. So one of my kids, I would not name him, he had written, I do not feel good sometimes, but I am not able to share it with anybody. I tried sharing it with my parents, and I was told that it's okay. So, and then he secretly wrote his name there. And then he told me that do not tell anybody. Okay, so I took the paper to him, didn't call him and anything. And then I just wrote there, it is normal. You are not being okay is normal. I am with you. All right. So these are the two very important things that something that I've seen. So yes, teachers, pitching in for the promotion of mental health is a yes factor right now, because and then I've seen the child considerably improve in his academics, and in the bygone year he has taken up grade 12 with flying colors, and he's good to go in his life because of that one little intervention. And that's what I think every teacher should do. You have to look through, especially as ma'am was saying that the 2 years of COVID have actually done, the unimaginable. So we have amused ourselves to a point of no return. It's all a point of no return. So yes, from here we only have each other to fall back on, and children who are, our responsibility. So that is how mental health does affect, and it does,
So that extra nudge is required. Extra nudge is required time to time. Then you need to understand that why that person is facing this thing, and you need to be more sensitive.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The more you look through the person, the more you look, read between the lines. We teachers always say read between the lines. Read between the lines. So we read between the lines. और जैसे कि सर भी कह रहे थे, the word depression is being used in a, widely. Children don't really know what does that mean. Ma'am, I'm feeling so depressed. And so even me, by being a teacher of English, I continuously tell them, but they don't use the word depressed. That's got a deeper connotation. So, that's also a very recent Gen Z thing that they have picked up. So all said and done, yes, we as teachers do have some really important thing to, do in the lives of our students if we really want to help them come up, with a better future.
Exactly. That's a wonderful suggestions. Yeah, Miss Ritika, you have reached your point. Thank you so much, Miss Anindita.
Thank you. Gulshan, if I may just take a minute, please.
Sure.
Ritika.
Please.
And I really wanted to meet all the esteemed panelists for my number.
We are here till I believe 6:15. So if whenever you get some time, do join us.
Can I definitely join back, Gulshan?
Sure.
I'm so sorry. I am in school right now.
Sure.
So my namaskar to all of you. And we all are doing a wonderful, wonderful job, I'm sure. And I hope I come across all of you someday or the other. Thank you so much. Allow me to take your lead, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gulshan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye bye. Yeah, yeah, Ritika,
Yeah,
please.
I
You have
just
raised.
wanted to add on to
Please.
Ananta ma'am's question. See, when she says an intervention of an educator, so it's not the intervention as an educator. Everybody, the state is now that everybody wants somebody to hear them. Okay, hearing is one thing which is required. Nobody see why that mental state. We reach that mental state when ma'am said that that child wrote. Why did the child write? Because there was nobody to hear him out. So when you see a little deflection, when I talked about, that healthy state of mind, so when that there is a little deflection from that healthy state of mind, and it is a repetitive thing that you see in a child, just listen to him, just ask him and say, is anything wrong? And just listen. So when you hear, then you realize that what's going on into the mind. Because at that moment, the child's mind is not healthy, it's restless. So, as an educator, it is very necessary to intervene, yes, but before intervening and taking any action, hear them out. Hear anybody out, whomever you feel is little off. And as humans, we all realize who's off and something wrong with
Exactly.
someone.
That's
So
wonderful.
that is required.
Mr. Rajan, I would love to hear some response from your side, like being the educator. I mean, you're also working some of the reputed schools in India, and I'm sure then you have taught, I mean, thousands of students till now, right? So, being the teacher, being the educator, what's your take on this, and how you intervene if you face such kind of issues? I mean, with your students.
So could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I was asking like being the educator, right? Being the educator, you might have come across a lot of times when your students they might have come across like you they face this kind of issues. So how you intervene, how you deal with them?
Sir, so far as my opinion is concerned, I think happy teachers create happy spaces. If the teacher is happy, means we are discussing here the mental health of the students, but
Exactly.
the mental health of the teachers also need to be discussed. This must be the prime concern of. I would like to request all the principals who are there in the panel today that they must take care of the mental health of the teachers as well. Because a happy teacher or a mentally fit teacher, mentally healthy teacher can take care of the students there. Uh, the school will become a happy place if the teachers are happy.
Exactly.
So there are certain issues also. Recently, I concluded a workshop at Patna, Bihar.
Okay.
It was a 3 days event. The topic was adolescent education.
Okay.
So teachers were there from far-flung places, from very remote areas of Bihar. Uh, though the topic was adolescent education, but in the open house, some time was given to them. They were discussing their own problems. There are teachers who are very low salaried, a lot of burden is there. Means though this is another issue,
Exactly.
but this is pertaining to their mental health. Means if a teacher is crushed in the schools, how can he be create a mentally healthy environment in the classroom?
Exactly.
So means teachers' issues need to be addressed.
Addressed.
This is my suggestion also. This is a common problem everywhere. Then
Exactly.
comes the the students who are very disruptive or difficult. Parents are very difficult sometimes, and the management has its own what we call bounds also. They cannot go against the parents because parents are the clients today. The management decides to take some action against the parents or the students, then there will be problems. So again, who is crucified? The teacher is crucified. So this is one of the problems also. This needs to be addressed. This is
Exactly.
my suggestions. All the senior members are there in the panel. So how can this be possible? If the teachers, sometimes the teacher they don't want to upgrade themselves also, and they don't know the new methods also. They are not acquainted with the
I believe
modern.
that's the reason CBSE has taken in this initiative. I mean, they have can say partner with
Ah,
Center of Excellence, and they are conducted. They've mentioned that they
yeah.
have to undergo with
No
50
center of
hours of
excellence.
mandatory trainings.
But some teachers they don't want to attend the training programs. They think only for the sake of certificate, for the sake of attendance, they must go there.
So that's a different thing altogether. Even if I recall my experience, I started my journey as a CBSE trainer. I mean, on the post that
Okay,
you're
okay.
working. So back in the time of 2013, I used to conduct a lot of workshops. So till now, I mean, I've conducted more than 1,000 workshops in the CBSE schools across India, and this is a common problem.
Ji. So how can we take care of the mental health of the teachers there in the school if we have a check on the students? If the management or the means they are counselors in the schools, and the students they are means under the control of the teacher, I think the teachers they will be mentally fit in the school. There was a question. So there are difficult students in my class. How to handle them? So being a trainer means वो trainer वाली आत्मा जागी. मैंने कहा ma'am, there was a teacher, lady teacher, who was quite novice there. Means she had just joined the training, this teaching job. मैंने कहा ma'am, give them some responsibility. उनको आप monitor बना दीजिएगा. So the lady, when the lady responded, I didn't have any reply. The lady said, "Sir, I cannot make 40 monitors. If there are 40 students, all are disruptive. They don't means I'm yeah. They
That
don't
something is missing. Almost like not something, everything is missing.
वो सर वो कैसे कर पाएगी? She will not
Exactly.
be able to do justice with the children there. Then a lot of pressure is
Sir,
also
there
there.
are some regional challenges. I mean, the challenges which the schools in Bihar are facing might not be the same in the Bangalore, right?
Okay, Bangalore is quite
That's
developed.
that's that's yeah. Thank you, Rajan sir, for sharing your points. Josephine, ma'am, you have raised your hand. You wanted to add a point, I believe.
Correct,
Please.
correct. Good evening to one and all present there. See, I am a psychology student myself. When I started my journey, I still remember my mother was literally scared that I go to mental asylums for case studies. I might end up in mental asylum. So that's how I started my journey, if you see. Because 20 years back, I don't think psychology was so well known in India. So it was very few of us who took up psychology those days. Now it has so much, crucial importance that educators have to, put up in school. It is very mandate for us. See, COVID came over, we took up system, we took up changes that are, to be brought about in school, very good. But however, this is something, mental health is something that cannot be transitioned, overnight. Like Mr. Rajan rightly said that educators need to be educated first how to deal with the situation. Small things can help teachers manage a classroom. Like we have to set goals for the children. We ask them, okay, what is the challenge that they're facing, and let's set goals together. Let's see if you're able to achieve it at the end of 15 days, if not 20 days. So when we ask children, they are quite vocal enough to address, okay, it is achievable, not achievable. And it's very important that the teacher started this journey, she cannot leave it midway. It's very important that the teacher has to go back and reflect whether that achievement has been done what we targeted for. It's very mandatory. Unless any kind of responsibility that you own up, unless you reflect upon the actual value of it doesn't come out. So when
Exactly.
you recheck, for instance, for example, would like to share, the child was not interested in biology and he wouldn't complete his work. When I asked him to write down what is the challenge that he faces, he's not able to understand the concept. He does not like the teacher at all. I'm vocal that way. If he is not able to, so when the child clearly wrote, I think during the time of biology, I concentrated more on, video games. So we said, okay, let's set a target that you play, half an hour games. Can you give away 10 minutes of your time every day? We'll ask the biology teacher not to ask your submissions for the next day itself. 2-3 days will be given to you. But eventually you have to submit the work. Closely took after 4.5 months is when a child come up with a completed work stating that I have been able to complete. So it's not something that we start today and we finish it tomorrow. It's not a curriculum. It's
Exactly.
something that we are dealing with children. It's very sensitive. So teacher needs to be very hand in hand with the children in the classroom to take this forward. Yes, it's a toll on teacher. I can understand that. As again, it goes back teacher training. So it's a vicious circle that
I
continues.
believe it's a continuous process. You cannot achieve everything at once, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
It's always on the steps, right? I'm sure
Correct.
that you
Because
all are.
once a teacher starts feeling the sense of achievement, she starts applying more actually.
Exactly.
Because she feels somewhere she's successful in doing A, B, C. So she'll try out for D as well. So that's how I think school should work. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful suggestion. I'm sure that everyone must have noted down these points. Yeah, Miss Ritika, you wanted to add, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add when ma'am said it's not a process which happens in one day. So it's a fact that the mental health issue takes 8 years to come to the surface. So that means a child who is suffering, who is really facing an issue at the age of 8, by the time people around him realize he's about 14, 15, 16 years of age, which is a recorded fact. You can find it out. Like, we as psychologists, when we try and we read case studies, this is what we find out, that this, whatever has not happened overnight. It maybe started with a very small, maybe it started very small, demotivating factor, but that resulted, accumulated years over years, and then it became as a mental state after, you can say, after 6 years or after 5. That's why you see a child who's in grade 4 or 5, when that child suddenly comes down to grade 10, you say, कि अरे 5 6 में तो the child was very bubbly, what happened to the child now? So maybe it was accumulating years and again, and nobody addressed it, nobody asked him, and it accumulated and it resulted in unhealthy mental state. So ma'am is absolutely correct, sir. I'm absolutely with you. It's not a day, or week or month for that matter, a problem.
There's a
It
lot to be done in
accumulated.
that area. I believe it's a cumulative effort from the school side, from teacher
Absolutely.
side.
I'm sorry if I'm taking time, but I put it because this topic is something which I
I know
can,
that's why I am here. Don't worry.
so see, the thing is that
There are
mental
a lot of things
health.
that we can add, Mr. Kal. Let me ask the next question with Miss Shubhangi. Shubhangi, Miss, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask you this question. It's a very interesting question. Even when I was reading this question, it took me some time to understand. Okay, now this is something which we need to ask. So, mental health problems in students have been rise since COVID has arrived, right? And many a times when children or the teenagers talk to their parents about their mental health issues, right? Simply when they talk, sometimes even they don't talk about it, and when they get this courage and talk about these issues, this simply not acknowledging or acknowledge that having anything serious, right? And ultimately the school is held responsible for the poor academic performance, because whatever has happened in their personal life doesn't matter, they have to perform academically, right? So do you think that school should arrange mental health related workshop specifically for the parents? Because we cannot
Yeah.
put the onus entirely on the school side or the teacher side, right? Because parents are also equally responsible.
Yeah. Uh, as an educator as well as administrator, I feel that the fourth portion of the day the child is spending in the school. Out of that, if you remove their recess time, their total interaction time, they actually are in learning mode for a very, very less minute or very less span of time. So learning cannot happen only in the school, first of all. Secondly, if the child is there inside the family, what kind of circumstances are there at that end, and what kind of things are going on between the parents? Sometimes the child sees everything as a spectator and he feels a lot which he cannot express. He doesn't have any end where he is expressing his things, whether it is financial crisis, whether it is a abusive parent, or a marriage which is going to shatter. So all these feelings the child is carrying with him along with the school bag. So with that baggage, he is actually attending the classes. So if these kind of feelings the child is able to express at all, the parents need to have a proper listening, not only selective listening. Here the school's role comes, instead of tagging the child or instead of blaming the parent, there can be a mutual interaction and good workshops by renowned psychologists or counseling people can be organized for the parents who are not fully aware, as everybody is saying that depression is a very common term, rather misused term. Lot of things, underlying things, can be discussed with the workshops which are perpetually and with proper objectives planned by the school. It can help a lot of parents to get familiar with. So I feel it's a very, very mandatory thing from the schools and to organize such kind of things and create, first of all, awareness about the mental health. And it is okay not to be okay. Thing has to be percolated down in the society to a large extent. Because in our society, though after COVID the things have risen about the mental health issues, yet very common people do not take it seriously, and then it is blamed to different people.
Exactly. they don't take it seriously. I mean, with my personal experience also, I've conducted a lot of parents orientation program when it comes to the career guidance. Like, because when we conduct the career guidance workshop, so with the students workshop, we also conduct the parents orientation program specifically with a career thing. Because anyhow, the parents take larger time and you can say efforts when it comes to choosing a career path, and simply they don't turn up. If you have 200 students and you ask the parents orientation program, sometimes maximum 30, maximum 25 parents they visit. So it's very hard to make it mandatory thing. That's lovely, Shubhangi Miss, for your response. Pareshji, you're there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Pareshji, why don't you please introduce about your venture and about yourself and how you are actually helping to the schools in terms of the mental health and how your product is helping? Because I'm sure your product is not just helping the schools or the students. It's a bridge between the parents and the students also, right? Because
That's
the
right.
parents are also indulged in this product. Can you please?
Yeah, see, let's all understand one thing. At this point of time, while we are all speaking on mental health today, somewhere who comes first is into the fight that he wants to remain coming first. Somebody who comes last wants to increase his ranking. So somewhere the person coming in last wants to ensure that his ranking goes up, and the pressure of the pressure to increase his ranking is there with somebody coming in last. Somebody coming in first has got the pressure of maintaining that ranking, and in this scenario, the mental pressure starts building up. We basically call it as a performance stress, and this performance stress is something which is basically impacting the child's mentality to a great extent. In terms of, if you see this entire, there's a huge change in the way in the behavioral pattern that we see across in the children nowadays, and this behavioral pattern change in the behavioral pattern is coming in while gadgets are playing a very important role, or a big role into all this, but somewhere these performance stress also is something that is impacting the behavioral pattern of children. So what we do is, at this point of time, like we spoke about anxiety, we spoke about depression, we spoke about focus, concentration, memory. These are the terms that are very important for us to understand how is a child going to perform across. But is there a methodology to try and measure this? Moment it comes in, there is only one thing that comes to mind is a paper pen test. But we see a few psychologists here who will say that there are certain paper pen tests that can be used to ensure that we measure the concentration of a child, to measure the memory of a child. What we do is we bring in technology here, and when you bring in technology here, we basically are able to generate a report of any child based on technology. And this technology that we use across is called as the brain computer interface technology, in short BCI. So BCI is something which is there's a lot of research which is happening across in BCI at this point of time. Using the BCI concept, what we do is we acquire the brain waves of a child, or teachers, or I'll come to the teachers part a little later. So we start acquiring the child's brain waves, and after while we make the children do certain activities. When they're doing certain activities, like they're playing some certain games, they're looking at there is a ball which they have to look at on the computer screen. Depending on the calmness level of the child, or depending on the focus level of a child, the ball will keep on rising. There is a car which is there on the screen, and they have to focus on that car. If they focus more on the car, if the concentration level increases, right, the car speed increases. So there are various such tests that we do using the PCA technology. And basis this entire test, we are able to generate a report. And this report basically talks about what is the child's concentration level. So now we know child is at a level of say 30 or a 40. There is a level, memory level is at 40. The problem solving skills is at say 45. The stress and anxiety is also measured. So it's not about stress and anxiety. While a little stress is very important. So anxiety and depression is measured rather. So a little stress is very important because we call it as good stress. Good stress makes us perform better. So if we don't have stress, then we'll not be able to raise our levels of performances. A good stress is very important. The moment that good stress becomes a toxic stress, the levels of depression starts coming in. While I'm not an expert in all these aspects, there are psychologists who can talk more about it. Chote muh badi baat. In terms of the good stress is something that needs to measure across. So we measure the stress level, measure the depression level. So what is the tendency of a child? In a difficult situation, is the tendency of a child to get into a depression, or the tendency of child is to fight back? That's something we measure across. And after the report is generated, then there are various online programs that are there, plus completely do-it-yourself programs, which basically ensure that the child's all these cognitive skills are moved to the next level. The concentration is moved to the next level, and after that, the test is taken again. So there is a comparative report that gets generated. So this is the way in which we basically, do a lot of activities with children, and we enhance their cognitive skills, and that impact is seen. The parents, the feedback that the parents and the schools have given us is the impact is seen in the child's behavior, academic performance, calmness level, because calmness level is critical for any child. The calmness level has gone up. So there are various such activities that we do across various such programs that we have. Just to cite an example, we had gone to a school and we wanted to do this entire program. Suddenly, the principal, rather he was, the director of that school, he said, no. Before the children, because a lot of Rajan sir basically spoke about it, or Antony ma'am spoke about it. He said, no, I want to first get the entire staff tested first.
Yes.
And he got the entire 250 staff tested, the headband, brain band connected, and then we had to take a report for all the staff. He took the report, he looked at the entire report of all the teachers, the staff, and everyone. What is the level? And that's when he went in for the children, basically. So that's,
No,
that's
I thought after looking at the report, he might have thought that he has to change the school from mental school to mental asylum.
So this is how it is. So that is what we basically do across. So a lot of programs that we have across to enhance this cognitive skills. The basic purpose of the programs is to ensure that there is a self-improvement and there is a mental wellness that we bring in. So somebody coming at 90 doesn't feel the performance stress. Somebody coming at 40 reaches to about 70. So overall the school's result goes up. The parents are happy, the schools are happy, the children are happy. So we basically try and make everyone happy.
That's come down to the Rajan sir point, that happy classroom that comes out of the happy teacher.
that is what is the purpose of our program. So that's what we do across with schools.
No, what I think and what I believe, with this experience also, the kids, they don't understand these problems, right? And the adults, they don't acknowledge.
True.
If we are facing some problems, we don't acknowledge sometimes. Because
the primary reason for that question is somewhere is, parents don't want to accept that there is some challenge with my child. If a child comes and says, it's very difficult for a parent to accept that aisa kuch hota nahi hai.
Exactly.
There's nothing like this that is there across, and that is where the fight starts for the child.
That's true. Yeah, Vikasji, please share your point.
जो एंजाइटी की जब बात हो रही है और जब पेरेंट एक्सेप्टेंस की बात हो रही है, देखिए हम उस देश से आते हैं जहां पर कोविड के लिए कम से कम कितनी एड्स चलानी पड़ी, सिर्फ दो चीजों के लिए कि आपको बाहर नहीं निकलना और सैनिटाइज करना और तो आपको मास्क लगना. ओके, तो एंड नाउ वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग समथिंग वेरी एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी फ्रॉम पेरेंट. तो मतलब वी हैव टू चेक आवरसेल्फ कि आर वी ऑन राइट पाथ टू whom we are expecting actually. The first thing. The second thing, in my point of view, जितना मेरा नॉलेज बेस है उसके अकॉर्डिंग, अगर किसी को अपना विजन नहीं पता, उसके पास अगर एम नहीं है, विजन नहीं है ना, तो उसको स्ट्रेस और एंजाइटी है ना, और कंफ्यूजन रहना इट्स नेचुरल. तो अगर हम इसको सॉल्व करने की बात कर रहे हैं, हम मेंटल हेल्थ पे बात कर रहे हैं, इट्स सो सिंपल कि अगर हम बच्चे को उसके स्ट्रेंथ के अकॉर्डिंग उसको विजन दे दें, तो ऑब्वियसली बच्चे का ध्यान इधर उधर नहीं जाएगा. तो वहां से उसको सपोर्ट एंड मिलना देगा टीचर को. ऑब्वियसली टीचर का सबसे बड़ा रोल इसमें टीचर का ही है. तो लेकिन टीचर को सपोर्ट कौन करेगा? पेरेंट्स एक्सपेक्ट कर नहीं रहे हम, और कर भी क्या लिया, ऑनेस्टली कर भी क्या लिया. नाउ एक स्टूडेंट ही है जिसको अभी सपोर्ट कर सकता है. अगर स्टूडेंट को हम सपोर्ट कर दे इन टर्म्स में कि आपकी स्ट्रेंथ ये है, आपका पोटेंशियल ये है, आपका विजन ये होना चाहिए और आपका इस तरह का थॉट प्रोसेस होना चाहिए, बिलीव मी यू विल सी अ शिफ्ट. व्हाई? अगर हमने एकेडमिकली कर भी लिया तो भी हमारी पूरे ओवरऑल अगर मैं बात करूंगा तो उस पे इम्पैक्ट नहीं आने वाला, क्योंकि उसका क्लैरिटी तब भी नहीं है. जो आज का स्टूडेंट झेल रहा है, जिसको एसएचओम भी बोल रहा है, जिसको हमारा एचआरडी मिनिस्टर भी एग्री कर रहा है कि हमारा स्टूडेंट अभी हेवे में है, उसके 93% स्टूडेंट्स आर अंडर एम्प्लॉयड और अनएम्प्लॉयड. व्हाई सो? बिकॉज दे डोंट हैव एनी विजन एंड क्लैरिटी. हम स्कूल में शुरू करते तो सारी प्रॉब्लम ही शायद लगता है खत्म हो जाएगी कि मेंटल हेल्थ पे, डिप्रेशन, एंजाइटी पे शायद बात ना करनी पड़े.
That's why I really respect your points because आप जब भी कुछ पॉइंट बोलते हैं ना, बहुत डिफरेंट पॉइंट पे आप बात करते हैं. आपने एक बहुत अच्छी बात की कि अगर हम जो सेशंस हैं या बाकी सारी चीज़ें हैं, अभी तो हम यही समझा रहे हैं लोगों को कि सुबह सुबह कूड़े की गाड़ी आती है कि कूड़ा गाड़ी में फेंको आप, और अभी भी लोग ये नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं. एंड द पास्ट 10 years वी आर डूइंग द सफाई अभियान, राइट? सो इट्स वेरी हार्ड फॉर देम टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस कॉम्प्लेक्स इश्यूज.
अभी तो हमने सर अपने क्वेश्चन का नाम भी सफाई रखा है.
Yeah, Rajan sir, you wanted to add something. Please go
Yes,
ahead.
sir.
Yeah.
We need to model our own behavior, sir. If we wish to make them tamed in the classroom to the children. So the teachers, if they have a genuine purpose for their lesson and a clear agenda, I think children, they will follow. If you are advising them not to use mobile phones and during the classroom or during the invigilation duty, the teachers, they are using mobile phones now. They emulate our behavior also. And the teacher, they have become household figures these days because we are exposed to the parents also. So parents know कौन अच्छा teacher है, कौन बुरा teachers है, बुरे teachers हैं. So the teachers, they need to model their own behavior because we are role models for them. So if we our behavior, definitely children, they will be following us, and there will be transformation. Positive transformation will be there in the schools, in the classrooms.
Just wanted to add one more point. There is no acha teacher and bura teacher. There is interested teacher and non-interested teacher.
Yeah, boring teacher.
It's very simple. Yeah, Miss Ritika, you wanted to add one more.
Yeah, like Paresh sir also said and Rajan sir, see the thing is कि जब हम ये देखते हैं ना कि बच्चों को मार्क्स कितने मिले हैं, तो हम देखते हैं मैथ्स में कितने मिले, साइंस में कितने मिले, सोशल साइंस में कितने मिले, तो वो हम उनको कैटेगराइज कर रहे हैं. बट जहाँ पे आपने उनकी पोटेंशियल के हिसाब से उनको क्या कहते हैं पुश किया, 5 उंगलियां एक जैसी तो होती नहीं है. तो अगर एक बच्चा मैथ्स में अच्छा नहीं है लेकिन वो टेक्नोलॉजी, वो एआई में अच्छा हो सकता है, right? So this is where the educator's role also come in, to identify the potential in the child, the core area.
There is a lot to be done in that area because now the role of the teachers is not just to give the information. It has become more kind of a facilitator, right? Because all the information is available. So that's why
teacher is called a facilitator. There are no more teachers and educators. They're all facilitators.
Exactly.
All are facilitators.
That's lovely. So now, Ms.Anuj, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I mean, being the founder of a preschool, right? So can you discuss some of the major health problems of a 3 to 8 years of child and how a preschool is supporting and handling those issues? Because I'm sure that you can give us more insight about the preschool structure, right?
Yes, so here we are talking about the mental health of all the age criteria. Like generally we are talking about the elder one and the seniors and all. But if we talk about the toddlers and the little one, the precious and the foundational years, the most precious years we can say. As per the new NEP also, the main foundation year, 3 plus 2. Here, 90% of brain development happens in the tail age group of 5. As you all are in the education field, you all are aware about that. So generally we are ignoring that part. Being parent and being in education also, अरे छोटे बच्चे ही तो है, ओके हो जाएगा, इन्हें क्या stress है? But main thing, stress happens started from there only, and it multiplies, it grows into. And if we talk about the particular thing, if the child is not doing the proper things in the classroom, not attending the class in that way, so we are emphasizing all things like the little one. If we talk about the 2.5 years kid, the kid is also under depression. And we are using what is depression, what do we talk about the mental health and all these sort of things.
Miss Anuj,
Yeah,
you are audible. आप मुझे कुछ एग्जाम्पल बता सकते हैं, कुछ लाइक रियल एग्जाम्पल विच यू हैव एनकाउंटर्ड? प्लीज एक बार थोड़ा मुझे उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताइए.
Yes, many. One thing I observed personally, like one kid, he was very hyperactive. The parents were कि मेरा बच्चा तो बहुत ज़्यादा बैठता ही नहीं है, कुछ करता ही नहीं है, and such sort of things. Generally, we are experienced such sort of things. Those kids are hyperactive or some are extremely dull. So somehow it depends upon the family environment. First thing, this environment directly affects the child mind, the child mental health generally. and we generally used to ignore those things कि बच्चा हमारा ऐसा ही है, ये तो ऐसा ही होगा. ये ऐसा नहीं होता है. It happens because of the environment happens. The environment make them to be like this. And we can definitely sort of these things by counseling the parents. अभी previously we were discussing just now about कि parents की counseling होनी चाहिए. It should be. I really in this point कि parents की counseling is mandatory. पहले parents की जरूरी है, then we can talk about the kids mental health.
तो फाउंडेशनल
Because
ईयर्स के अंदर इफ आई समराइज दिस थिंग, फाउंडेशनल ईयर्स के लिए पेरेंट्स, क्योंकि मेजर टाइम जो है वो पेरेंट्स के साथ नहीं बिता रहे हैं या हाउस इन्वायरमेंट में ही बिता रहे हैं, तो उसका जो
exactly.
पेरेंट्स का रोल है, जो उसका सोसाइटी, जो उसका हाउस का रोल है, वो ज़्यादा क्रूशियल है एज कम्पेयर टू द टाइम स्पेंडिंग इन द स्कूल, प्री स्कूल.
No, actually the second home is obviously the school only.
Exactly.
After the kid, yes, but we have to work in the foundation year. We have to work together. School, parents, they both have to play the similar roles.
There should
दोनों
be a
side पे work
synergy.
होगा
There
तो-
should be a synergy
Yes.
between all these two elements.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Yeah, Josephine ma'am, you wanted to add a point on this, please.
Yeah, it's very important for when we are talking about this preschool group of students, it's very important for a teacher to be very observative. So, if a child is throwing a pencil in the classroom, which is seen nowadays very commonly, the teacher needs to understand, is it a momentary thing that the child is doing, or is it there are a lot of behavioral changes that are being brought about in the child. It's very, see, we maintain something called anecdotal record of
Exactly.
children. So where we maintain these records to see if there are any behavioral transitions, then we need to address it at that time. If it is seen for a day, it could be momentary. जैसे बच्चा दूध पी के नहीं आता, माँ ने एक लगाया बस चढ़ा दिया, then the child comes and does this. If a teacher talks to the child vocally says this. Let me tell you that today I was not ready to board the bus, or today I was not willing to have a shower, so my mother gave one and she put me on the bus. So that kind of connect will only happen if the teacher is vocal enough with the child. And when there is a smaller group, see, I work in an international school where there are only 20 students. I have a homeroom teacher, assistant teacher, and a helper inside. So it's very clear for us to observe if there is definitely a change in the child's behavior. Something that is done for a day or two, it can be ignored because the child might be doing
Throwing
it
some tantrums
based
or-
on the instance that happened back at home. But if this is constantly continuing and you see this thing aggravating in the child, then that is an area of concern that we need to address, obviously. So we automatically call the parents and we try to find out what are the small things affects children. I'll tell you for an example.
Please.
There was a grandmother at home. There was this child who was very chirpy in kindergarten, comes smiling, wishes everybody. The child was not wishing when I was going on round. So I asked the child, what happened, baby? He was very sad. So I brought him to my room trying to understand what happened. Then I called the parents because he was not able to, tell what happened. So I called the mother. Both the parents were working. Finally, when we probed if the maid has changed, the caretaker has changed, anything, a person who is dropping or pickup has changed, we realized that the mother-in-law who is to take care of that, the grandmother who is to take care of the child at home, went for sister-in-law's delivery, to some other state. So when he was going back home, there was nobody to give him that hug and welcome him home. So it's a small, this thing for us, for a child, it's a world that makes a lot of difference, I feel. So it's very important for us to observe keenly as to, where the changes are coming about in the child. It can be addressed very beautifully, actually. The mother said, as a mother, I never felt, I never observed this man. It is so nice of you that you were able to, make out that there is something different in my child. Yes, keen observation is very key answer to the kindergartners, I feel. Yeah.
So one follow-up question for this. So I'm sure that you must be conducting some sort of training program for your teachers, right?
Yes.
Then how to be more observant and how to observe these kind of changes and behaviors. So I mean, just to connect those two dots, that I mean, if you really want to have this kind of observation in your classrooms, you must conduct these kind of training programs regularly with your teachers, so that they'll get to know, okay, now we need to do this thing.
Correct.
Time to time.
Correct.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Vikas, you wanted to add? Please summarize in next 60 seconds because I want to do. Yeah.
फाइनली अभी हमें थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम को और समझना पड़ेगा. लाइक मैं बिल्कुल कनेक्ट करता हूँ और मैम से भी अभी जो हमारा जो सेगमेंट, जो हमारे पास प्री स्कूल का जो पेरेंट है, वो ऑलरेडी थोड़ा सा इम्पल्सिव वाला पेरेंट है।
हाँ,
जो हमारे पेरेंट है वो इम्पल्सिव नहीं है। अच्छा, जो आने वाला पेरेंट होगा वो और ज्यादा इम्पल्सिव होगा। आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? इम्पल्सिव पेरेंट इज आस्किंग द थिंग, क्योंकि उनका ने ही ऐसा है, उनका 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 पूरा अपब्रिंगिंग ऐसा हुआ है। तो यहाँ पर हमें पेरेंट अवेयरनेस सेशन तो लेने ही पड़ेंगे, उनको
that's a
अवेयर करना ही
wonderful
पड़ेगा।
point, Vikas.
लेकिन
See,
लेकिन यहाँ
always
पर
like,
पॉइंट ये है, लॉजिकली होगा, साइंटिफिकली होगा। अब वहां पर थोड़ा सा मतलब, सॉरी टू यूज दिस वर्ड, मतलब ज्ञान तो होगा, ज्ञान मतलब इन नॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ, मतलब देयर सम शुड बी देयर सम लॉजिक्स, क्योंकि ये वाला जो अभी जनरेशन है वो लॉजिक पे बात कर।
अपने ना हमेशा आप कुछ ना कुछ नया पॉइंट ऐड करते हैं, मुझे यही बहुत अच्छा लगता है। बिकॉज नाउ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द पेरेंट्स, बिकॉज द करंट जनरेशन, द प्री स्कूल जनरेशन जो पेरेंट है वो मिलेनियल्स है। मिलेनियल्स आर दोज हु आर बिलो 35 years of age, like we are millennials, very precise. And you've identified that problem, that we are impulsive to certain extent, not entirely. The Gen Z are totally impulsive, but millennials are impulsive to a certain extent. So when you are conducting these kind of training programs for the parents, so you need to understand the psyche of millennials, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Before, I mean, if you going with the same set of rules, okay, I'll conduct the program for this baby boomers also and the millennials also, that will not work. The Gen X also, that will not work. That's a wonderful point. Yeah, Josephine, I wanted to ask your question. So can I? I mean, because you have also raised your hand, because I need to finish up the questions also. Okay, so your question was like, most of the time, however, the students are unable to understand that they are facing such sort of problems, right? And they credit their bad mood to simply feeling low, right? So do you think it is very important for students and teachers and also the parents to realize how common mental health issues in children and teenagers are, and give them help whenever they need? Because I
Yes.
mean, if the students are coming and they saying, what happened? Nothing, I'm just feeling low, I'm not feeling good, and they just went back to the slumber. So how to solve these kind of issues? Because they never open up. It's very hard for them to open up.
See, always, like somebody rightly said among the panelists, it's very important for us to listen.
Hmm.
Hearing is different and listening is different. So it's very important for a teacher at school or a parent at home to listen.
Hmm.
The basic lag that we find in the entire setup is listening. Because when a child goes home, he wants to share his emotions, be it happiness, sadness, anger. He does not find his parents back at home because both of them are working.
Hmm.
When he comes back to the school, I will not say all school, but most of the schools, they are in the rigorous work of completing curriculum. So teacher might say, okay, bad job, but I'll talk to you in the interval. And then the teacher might skip out as well.
It happens.
It's
It
human.
happens.
It's
Anil.
human. Yeah, it's human
Exactly.
because they are also bound by rules and regulations that they need to adhere to. So it is very important that we listen to them because once you listen, it might be a small problem that they lack self-confidence itself when they compare themselves with the other millennial children, like you say. So all we need to do to them is little motivation saying that, okay, let's work together. Come and sit with me 5 minutes. I will see how you're not able to solve the problem. Same thing when we call the parent, we need to tell that your child needs 10 minutes of your proper listening time. If possible, give that time, make it a schedule. Let it be 8 o'clock, let it be 9 o'clock. Make sure before going to bed, you give that quality time to your child. The whole this thing is lost only because of that screen time, coming back, school,
Exactly.
going
So the
back,
screen time
extracurriculars,
is
going
not just
back.
increased with the
So
students.
everywhere there is only challenge that is thrown across to children. There is nobody who wants to listen whether they like it, not like it. There are very few parents whom I can count on fingers and tell, yes, my son doesn't like music. It's okay. Do not force him to get into music class. There are very few parents who are ready to accept the fact, okay, my child is not doing in math. It's perfectly fine. I know where he stands. So it's very important. The whole thing again rolls back, as I said, to listening skills. A deeper listening will always find lot of solutions to the problems that we have.
And sometimes it's not mandatory always like to give the solutions also. You just
Correct.
go
Correct.
there and
Just
listen
tell
that
them I am
problem.
there with
That's
you.
it.
Go ahead and do it. Let's see. If it is not happening, it's perfectly fine, better. Everything need not be, you get a cup and come back home. It's that way. That kind of small this thing. And when conflict is there, a child comes to tell, parents should be telling that, okay, let's sit down. I'm in a call now, you cannot bother me. This is not the answer to a child's, conflict. Conflict management is something that you need to sit down when you're calm along with the child and trying to manage how to find a solution for the conflict as actually. So whole thing again, time listening, everything rolls back to if we get that quality time and this thing, I'm sure half the problems will be done. The mental health is only because of television, and let me tell you that psychology says screen that is running this way is not happening the way you move around when you're watching a human being, walk and talk with a child. So they're so used to this monotonous screen that they do not. That's why empathy is lacking nowadays in generation of kids. If you see, you cannot blame them. So all
Because they
this,
have lost the touch of the human emotions entire,
correct,
not
correct,
entirely, but to a certain
correct,
extent.
correct, correct. To an extent,
Paresh, I would love to hear your point on this. I mean, I'm sure that your platform is a bridge, as I already said, that your platform is a bridge between the parents and the students, right? So how you conduct these kind of programs and how actually the report is helping the parents to understand their child in a better manner.
See, basically, Gulshan, it is very startling for the parents at first, because initially the acceptability that there are some certain challenges that are there across, right? These challenges, some I remember we had met across a parent, and the parents, this girl was into that. I think she was into the 11th or 12th standard, and she was preparing for her NEET. And while she was preparing for her NEET, she had great scores in NEET exams. For all those pre-NEET exams that were there across. And the parents said, "Iske to marks bade achhe aate hai." But how come that the report that you're showing across is not that great? Her self esteem level was low. The girl's self-esteem level, as per the report, was low. And she was had a tendency of getting into depression, and the parents were not wanting to believe that there is certain of this type. And then we started getting into those theories, and then we then we start discussing. That's when they realized, on the layer, on the surface of it, the parents do not want to accept it, and they do not want to deep dive into it. That's point number one. Point number two: how are we trying to solve this problem? Like Anthony ma'am rightly said, the type of screens that are being displayed across to a child, they are very dangerous. For example, PUBGs and all, good that it has been banned across now. But these type of games basically generate a lot of negative emotions in children. In terms of a lot of violence, and in terms of that anger, negative emotions are very high in this game. So why not we try and make this entire games, make this entire music, and we use them to ensure that the mental wellness of a child gets up. So to give an example to you, for a brain, what we have from as per our research, for memory to be enhanced to a great level, the brain needs to operate at 8 hertz frequency. That's
Okay.
what the science says across. If the brain is fed 8 hertz frequency on a regular basis, then the child's memory levels, or any human being's memory levels, will go up. But unfortunately, 8 hertz frequency is lower than the audible range of any human being. So what we do is we provide the binaural beats. We make the children listen to binaural beats, and these binaural beats are basically a set of musics which basically ensure that there is in one year I'm feeding in, say, for example, 1000 hertz of frequency in some music form. Another year, 1008.1 hertz of frequency. So what brain does is it nullifies that 1000 hertz frequency and it takes in 8.1 hertz frequency. Similarly, the games that we have designed across, or on the basis of a panel that was set across, there is a panel of 133 scientists, an international panel of 133 scientists that was there across. The panel basically decided this is the algorithm that has to be followed for any brain to be called as brain training games. So those are things we have developed across. So we present across, we assure the parents that this entire program, next 2 months of this program, is going to change the this entire report that you're seeing across. And that's what we have seen across. Now children generally, what we have found out is, in the before the program, the children haven't, if you really measure the concentration level of a child, that is ranging between 40, almost 51% children have got a concentration level of less than 40 out of 100 from our observations.
That's a nice
40.
report.
But of course, after the programs, almost 70% children have a concentration level of above 55. That's what is through our programs that we have done across. Similarly, the calmness level and all. So there is a challenge that is there across. It is just that we have to accept this challenge, and we have to ensure that we all start working on it. The schools, the parents, companies like us, Brain Infinity, we all have to work together, and basically we have to ensure that we basically create a system in such a way that it is only supporting the child to do better. And like everybody said across, it is okay to be not to be okay. So that is one mantra that we all need to probably follow across, and we need to ensure that we need to give that comfort level to a child, saying that, "Hey, it's okay to be not to be okay." That's what is my thought
That's
process.
absolutely fine, because as you have rightly pointed out, I mean, as the world is changing, the rate of change has become too fast to accept and understand that कि हाँ भाई इतना change हो रहा है और इतना change actual में हो रहा है, because every 6 months a lot of change is happening, and it's very hard for the teachers, schools to understand the changes which is happening across. So it's very important for the schools to take the help of the edtech companies, the changes and the innovations which they are bringing in the school ecosystem. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
actually, it is very important. Just one quick, I'll take quick 30 seconds. It's very important first to measure how big is the problem. Whether it will be individually for every child. That's what we keep on insisting when we go to the schools, and when we talk about our program. We tell them the same thing. First, measure out, check out what is the level of challenge that we have across for every child. First, get a report, and then basically take a call. So that is very important for. That's what we've been keeping on telling the schools.
That's wonderful, Banerjee. That's wonderful. Mr. Rajan, I believe your question is left. Yes. You wanted to add certain thing, or should I ask you
Yes,
your
sir.
question?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
If the teachers are able to engage the learners with meaningful activities or material, because the NEP also focuses on project-based learning, experiential learning, hands-on experiences, and all that. I think this mental stress can be reduced up to some extent.
Exactly.
If teachers they allow their learners, the students, to direct their own learning, means they are not the dictators in the classroom. I think this situation can be improved a lot. And if we know what to expect from them, and as we Paresh sir also told that connect is missing. So if we are connected to the children directly or indirectly, means I think we will be able to address this problem. If we encourage the pupils' efforts, whether they are able to score 45%, 50%, 75%. Generally, what happens in the schools, we acknowledge the efforts of the top scorers only, 90 plus, 95 plus
That's a
percentage.
universal problem.
Are acknowledged. They are awarded during the annual function and all that. So, what is the fault of those students who have scored 85%, 75%? So, if we are not biased towards the children, I think their mental health may improve with the passage of time. And if you are supporting them, and we are going there in the classroom, again, means I'm talking about that happiness quotient. If the happiness quotient of the teacher is high, if we enter the classroom with a smile on our face, I think half of the problems will be solved there. And again, as ma'am told us that we must listen to the problems, and we must respect their ideas. There
Exactly.
will be sometimes we don't like their ideas, but we must respect. So if this mutual respect is there between the teacher and the taught, means I think will be the winners there in the classroom. We must respect their opinions, even if we don't agree with them. And again, being a role model also means will help us in maintaining the decorum in the classroom. And we must make success about their learning, not about our teaching. And Miss, I must say here that great classrooms are characterized by positive, open relationship, mutual respect, and a shared responsibility for the learning process. So, if these principles are adopted in the classroom, I think we'll be able to address this issue. This is not, though the issue is very challenging. And let me tell you here that everyone who remembers his own education remembers teachers, not methods and techniques used by the teachers. So the teacher is the heart of the educational system. So means again means my opinion is here that we must try to update the teachers there through trainings, and again there's a need to counsel the parents as well. More and more workshops should be conducted in the schools for the parents as well. Let me give you a very short example here. The other day we had a parent-teacher workshop here. Means the parents were called to the children, called to the school to discuss the problems of their children. So there were four principles written on the board: discipline, self-respect, humility, and one more was there. Means core
Equity.
values were there. So a lady was, after the workshop was over, the lady was saying कि मेरे बेटे में चारों क्वालिटी में से एक सिंगल क्वालिटी भी नहीं है. So parents, they also means they do not acknowledge the positive traits or positive qualities of their children. So अगर हम लोग उनको भी लिफ्ट अप करेंगे, पेरेंट्स को कुछ इस तरह से हम लोग गाइड करेंगे, उनको काउंसल करेंगे, तो आई थिंक विल बी एबल टू एड्रेस दिस प्रॉब्लम.
It's a constant thing. It's a constant thing when it comes to the parents orientation program. It's a constant thing.
The diet
One
we
last
work-
question, Mr. Rajan, to you. I believe your question is left. So just to summarize in a very you say, your question was like, being the teacher's trainer, you must have conducted a lot of training programs and hundreds of educators in the country, right?
जी.
So what are the challenges? I mean, you have come across the teachers are facing, and how it's impacting their mental health.
Sir, basically teachers are not ready to learn. They don't want to listen to, means, as I told in the beginning of the workshop, in this very discussion, they're not ready to listen to the views of others. That acceptance is missing, sir. They don't want to take guidance from their senior teachers, from head of the departments. Even they don't want to approach the principals as well. So this means this thing is a great barrier. This impedes their growth also. They don't have any. They have reluctance for training programs. They don't read also. So the teachers, they have also left reading habits. We talked about the screen time of the children, but let's talk about the screen time of the teachers as well. They have also become addicted to the mobile phone. So this is also one of the problems. And again, so many problems are there. Some facilities are there, lack of facilities are there in the schools, and there is dearth of good schools as well. Means where they can apply, and sometimes communication also. The other day I conducted a workshop on multilingualism. एक कहीं ना कहीं communication problem भी है sir. Means in some of the schools means English is a compulsion. Means
It's a
the
compulsory
children
language, yes.
how to communicate in English only. So कई बार उनका वो level नहीं हो पाता है. And the teachers who are fluent in English, they means they are the heroes or the heroines of the school. जो teachers नहीं cope up कर पाते हैं, उनको थोड़ा सा degraded teacher मान लिया जाता है. तो ये communication problem is also one of the biggest challenges also.
So anyhow,
again,
it's impacting their mental health
impacting
because
the
anyhow
teacher.
because they're not getting the recognition.
And this is
which is-
correctly एक और problem है sir, means lot of burden is there on the teachers. वो एक क्लासरूम में सब्स्टिट्यूशन पीरियड में टीचर जाता है तो टीचर नहीं जाता है, उसकी जिंदा लाश जाती है वहां जाके चेयर पे वो बैठ जाती है. हाँ, तो द टीचर विल नॉट बी एबल टू डू जस्टिस विद द चिल्ड्रन. एक टीचर है who is very jubilant, who is happy, bubbly, so he will be means a successful teacher. He will be able to spread happiness again. मेरा फोकस उसी के ऊपर है कि हमें टीचर्स को ज्यादा एम्पावर करना है. We need to empower the teachers here. ताकि उन लोगों को, जो आप प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, काफी लोग सीनियर लोग हैं अपने इसमें, सीनियर मेंबर्स हैं, एजुकेटर्स हैं. So means we need to focus on the teachers training here and the parents training. So I think if we are able to address these two things, there will means this challenge will not be there, or we'll be able to curtail this challenge in the schools.
That's wonderful. आपने वो पॉइंट बोले हैं जो पॉइंट वो था ना नायक के अंदर की. हाँ, ये बहुत कोर पॉइंट्स आपने बात की है जो कि चैलेंजेस एक्चुअली में हैं और कोई इनके बारे में बात नहीं करना चाहता है.
I'd like to interrupt you here. हम लोग 20 साल पहले पढ़ा करते थे कि भारत की जनसंख्या बढ़ती जनसंख्या एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या है. अगर हम इस पर काबू पा लें तो हम लोग इस पे मतलब कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं. हमें ये वेज अपनाने चाहिए, जनता को जागरूक करना चाहिए, कम बच्चे होने चाहिए, इससे गरीबी बढ़ती है. और उसमें कंक्लूजन लिखा करते थे हम लोग कि वो दिन दूर नहीं जब हम लोग जनसंख्या की समस्या से निजात पा लेंगे और भारत विश्व गुरु की श्रेणी में आ जाएगा. तो मुझे भी लगता था कि आफ्टर 10-15 years we'll be able to control this population. और हम मॉडल, तो हम लोग ऐसा ना हो कि गुलशन से 20 साल बाद आप फिर एक मेंटल हेल्थ पे प्रोग्राम करवा रहे हैं. और उसमें हम लोग इसी
Sir, we are bound, like we definitely conduct this program the next month also because I know this is the pain area.
मैं कह रहा हूँ हम लोगों को सारा एकजुट होकर आगे आना पड़ेगा. हमारे अंदर वो स्नॉबरी नहीं होनी चाहिए. We don't want to means counsel those people. हम लोग अपने आप में बेस्ट हैं. तो अगर हम लोग भी थोड़ा सा एक्सेप्टेंस करेंगे कि जैसा बच्चा है उसको एक्सेप्ट करिए. इवन पेरेंट्स आल्सो एक्सेप्ट देयर चिल्ड्रन. रितिका मैम है, काउंसलर है. मुझे भारी भरकम वर्ड्स नहीं आते हैं. आप लोगों ने साइकोमोटर, परेश सर ने पता नहीं कॉग्निटिव मेटा कॉग्निटिव एक सिंपल सा फंडा है, जाइए मुस्कुराइए, आई थिंक यू विल बी एबल टू विन द हार्ट्स ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन देयर, और वो मेंटल हेल्थ कहीं ना कहीं डिमिनिश हो जाएगी।
फिगास जी, यू
sorry,
प्लीज टेक राजन सर नंबर, आप लोग बहुत अच्छे दोस्त बनेंगे, बिकॉज आप लोग बहुत जमीन से जुड़ी हुई बातें करते हैं।
आप लोग सब लोग अच्छे हैं मैम, प्लीज कीप ऑन गाइडिंग मी। बड़ा अच्छा लगा सर, दिस इज अ ग्रेट प्लेटफॉर्म गुलशन सर, यू आर डूइंग अ ग्रेट जॉब आल्सो, एंड मैं आप सब लोगों से भी रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, कीप ऑन मेकिंग डिफरेंसेस। आप पॉपुलर टीचर या पॉपुलर प्रिंसिपल तभी होंगे, हम लोग ये अपनी स्नॉबरी में रहते हैं कि मैं मुस्कुराऊंगा नहीं बिकॉज आई एम द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ द स्कूल। तो
जोसेफिन मैम प्लीज स्माइल।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। वो कौन सी एक मैम थी, शी वाज क्वाइट ग्रेव, शी वाज इन अ ग्रेव मोड, पता नहीं कौन सा क्या इशू रहा।
हाँ, अनुज।
हम अपने घर मोड में जाते हैं ना गुलशन सर, आई थिंक हाफ ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स विल बी अगेन सॉल्व देयर।
चैलेंजेस रहते हैं सर व्हेन इट कम्स टू, अब जब हम बोलते हैं कम्युनिकेशन के चैलेंज सिर्फ इंग्लिश में नहीं है, कम्युनिकेशन के चैलेंज एक बहुत स्टार्टिंग लेवल से स्टार्ट हो जाता है, दैट दे डोंट एड्रेस दिस इशू, they don't express themselves. So language is not the barrier. The barrier is like it's coming from inside. You're not able to express yourself. Now how you can say? Yeah, Ritika miss, you wanted to add a point, please.
Yeah, when Rajan sir said na, about his problems, because even I am associated with CBSE as a tele-counselor, and I know the training sessions में क्या होता है, तो actually what I think is कि हम जब पढ़े हैं, हम old school method से पढ़े, अब हम वही method जो है अपने बच्चों को use कर रहे हैं, but वो तो आज अभी एकदम we cannot use those methods right now. So we have to unlearn what we have learned and we have to relearn it. To go back to that child's level and do
सेम एग्जाम्पल कि बेटा तुम्हें पता है मैं एक नदी पार करके पढ़ने जाया करता। So now there's a 4-lane highway on that river. Why should I swim and cross that river?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, even teachers, जैसे सर आपने बोला ना कि एकदम grave शक्ल में, so people tell me I'm a counselor and toddler से लेके grade 10, 11 तक I take care, and I am touchwood always smiling. I'm in a happy mood. So they said कि तू अभी तक पागल क्यों नहीं हुई? I said because I have accepted the fact that this is what I have to do. I love doing it. And अगर मैंने उसको खुद ही ले लिया, तो मैं कैसे दूसरों को, मतलब I don't have to give you guidance. I don't have to suggest you ways. I have to listen to you. If you come to me with a problem, you don't want solution. You only know the solution, but you want somebody to hear you out. So even only if I hear you out now, you will use your own and अच्छा ठीक है इसका मतलब मैं सही था, and you will do it. So that patience that every teacher or an educator has to have is to listen and relearn what is required. Old school अभी एकदम भी नहीं चलने वाला है. वो नदी पार करके तो आजकल नदियाँ ही नहीं है, नाले ही नहीं है, तो पार कहाँ से हो गए? So we have to accept. And when Paresh sir also said about that about parents, millennial parents. So I always tell the parents one thing कि आप भी parent तभी बने हो जब आपका बच्चा पैदा हो. उसके पहले आप parents नहीं थे. तो जैसे जैसे आपका बच्चा grow हो रहा है, आप भी as a parent grow हो रहे हो. So you have to accept. You both have to accept that my parent, when a teenager comes to me and says my parent does not understand me, I said your parent has become the parent of a teenager for the first time. So he is also going through the same stress what you're going through. So you both have to understand. Mummy papa पहले से पढ़ के train होके नहीं आए थे as a teenager, right? So it is just that communication thing. See, when we talk about, everything comes into the picture. When Anuj ma'am was talking about toddlers, when I take interviews of for nursery KG, parents come and say, oh, my child knows everything, rhymes, how my child is speaking. Your child is not speaking. You have given the phone to your child and your child is only repeating what your child saw or is hearing on the phone. And then sometimes the parent says, no, my child is very shy, 2.5 years, does not speak. But your child does not speak because you don't have time to speak. राइट पहले आपके जॉइंट फैमिलीज होती थी तो दादा दादी पहले से ही मम्मी बोलो दादा बोलो बोलना सिखा देते थे. अब तो मम्मी पापा अगर फोन पे वर्क फ्रॉम होम कर रहे हैं तो बच्चे से बात कौन करेगा? वही लैपटॉप.
Different now in this new century, new challenges and new solutions.
Challenges. So that's why when we're talking about mental health, it's all coming down to a routine. So once we make that little way unlearn and relearn, so that will only help us, I think so.
That's wonderful, Ms. Ritika, for sharing your insights. So let me formally end this webinar, then we can have a chit chat. So thank you everyone, Ritika Ms, Shubhangi Ms, Rajan Sir, Josephine Ma'am, Vikas Ji, Banerjee, for sharing your insights and making this webinar a huge success. I'm sure the people, the listeners that who will listen this webinar, they'll have a lot of, can say, understanding about the mental health challenges and the points that we have discussed. And there's a lot to learn and a lot to do in that area. So from the entire Inspired Valley family, I thank you everyone for giving your precious time. Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gulshanji, for
Pleasure is
inviting
all
me.
ours. Pleasure is